Hey everybody, John Peterson here, and today I've got another Which One Works for You. This is episode 16 of this regular series that I do, reviewing a few of my images and walking you through why I think some of my images work and some of them don't. Now, I just returned from my last workshop of the year in Grand Teton National Park in winter. I spent 6.5 days out there, shot maybe 1,000 frames. A lot of those were wildlife, and so, you're on a high-speed burst and you're reviewing all of those images and having to pick a couple of them. And oftentimes the differences are subtle. But let's go jump in. So from this workshop, I've picked a small selection of images that I just wanted to show you a few quick things about what I'm looking for when I come back from this workshop and why some images work better than others and ones that I will go ahead and do the final processing on. So let's jump in and take a look. Okay, let's jump in now. And this first example happens to be from the first morning of the workshop. It was about 2 degrees when we got out of the car and had a beautiful clear morning right before the storm happened. And the thing that's cool about doing this in the wintertime is there's this persistent fog bank over the Snake River in the background. And sometimes that creates some wonderful visual interest in a photograph. And when you shoot wide like this, you can include more of that fog bank to make it a compositional element in your frame. So that's kind of cool. We had a almost full moon above the Tetons, and this is the Molten Barn along Mormon Row, very famous, probably the most famous shot. And I've got this shot that I took, and then I've got this next shot that I took. Let me toggle back and forth between the two. So this one, which shows, the barn, the tree on the right, the pink house, and the other outbuilding to the left of that. Just a grand scene of the Grand Tetons. And I've shot this hundreds of times in different ways. I can't find too many more unique compositions to myself. So it's largely environmental, and it's choosing the composition that I want based upon the conditions that are happening on that particular day. So I've got this shot, and I've got this next shot. I tend to like this shot better. It shows the house more, it shows the barn more, and this shot was taken, 5 minutes after the first one. And notice that I'm getting some nice magenta color up here in the sky. Magenta and blue and the mountains, in my opinion, go really, really well together. So this is the shot that I would pick over the wider shot, such as this. This is about the mountains and the sky and the moon that happens to have a barn in it. When I tighten the shot up like this is about the barn and the house that happens to have the mountains and the moon behind it. So it kind of changes the story a little bit of what I'm telling in the composition. So on this day with these conditions, I tend to prefer this little bit of a tighter shot. And as a bonus, here's what it looks like just with the house and the trees and the outbuildings. This shot I like very much as well. Again, it's a closer shot, telling more of a story about the structures with this beautiful landscape behind us. Now, we were lucky enough to find a herd of young bull moose one day, and we drove down the road, and these moose when I stopped, I was 200 to 300 yards away from them, shooting with my long lens, and they kept working their way closer and closer and closer to us until the point that I could no longer use my long lens. But as they got closer, I started working on tighter, more intimate wildlife shots. And so here's one of the three moose that they were jousting, they were sparring, they were locking their antlers and rattling back and forth. And, this shot I like. I can see all the eyes of all three animals, which is critical in a wildlife photograph. You really want to see the eyes, and hopefully those eyes are directed towards the camera, or at least the viewer can connect with them and identify with them. So I have this shot, or I have this shot. Now, which one to pick? I can see the eyes in both of them. This one's kind of cool, and especially this third critter right here. He's sort of looking directly at the animal. These two are looking at one another, and that looks great. This shot here, I like a little bit more because this eye right here is looking directly at the camera, and then B, their antlers are locked, so it depicts the action that was going on at the time. And the fact that I can see a little bit of the whites of their eyes shows, it tends to impart a little bit of aggression on the part of the animals. And this was not a mean spar or a fight. This was just play fighting. But still, the whites of the eyes add a little bit more drama to the shot. So this is the one that I would pick over the previous one. One afternoon, we got some amazing light right before sunset. And so we were again along Mormon Row, and I had this idea to shoot the side of one of the log structures. And the reason I liked this was the quality of the light on this rustic wood was just mesmerizing. It was amazing. So I wanted to shoot the light, not necessarily the subject. So I took this shot, and then I took this shot. If my system will do it. There we go. So same kind of composition, just slightly different. So in this first shot, I've got the chimney, I've got the tree on the left, and I've got the face of the house. This shot's a little bit closer where I've still got the tree on the left, the face of the house, but I don't have the chimney. Which one works? Well, in my opinion, this one works better for two reasons. Number one, I don't have the chimney. The chimney was kind of cool as a contextual element. It lets you know that this was a house and there was a fireplace in it. But that's not the point of this photograph. The point of this photograph is this gorgeous light on the wood. And I really wanted to highlight that. But number two, the other reason why this one works for me more is that look at the space I have here between the trees and the house. When I go to the previous shot, notice that the house is overlapping the trees. So it doesn't work as well here. I cut off part of those trees, and for me, those trees are a compositional element. They're important. And so I want them to be resolved as fully as they can in the shot. That means having enough space around them so they can be a standalone compositional element. So this is the one I like better than the previous one. We also had a great afternoon shooting the bighorn sheep. And we were fortunate enough that the sheep were up on the rocks and not down in the grass. So they were up on the rocks in their element. So we got more chances to depict the animals in their natural element. So the first shot I have for you is this one. And it's of the ram and two young juveniles. They're up on the rocks. All three of their heads are relatively up. And it looks good. And remember in the introduction I said sometimes it's a very subtle difference, especially with wildlife, between which shot works better than another one. So the second shot I have to look at is this particular one here. So I'll go back to the first one. Notice that the sheep on the left, he's looking off to the left out of the frame. The ram is sort of looking my direction, which is great. And then the sheep on the right, it's sort of looking down and away from me as a photographer. If I look at the second shot, the sheep on the left is looking more in my direction. The ram is looking directly at me. And this sheep, yes, it's looking out of the frame, but its head is up. Its head is up. I can see his eyes clearly. It's a fully resolved profile of this animal. So this is the shot that works better for me. All right, well, there you go. There's a few examples of which one works for me. Again, a lot of times picking the right image is really up to you. You're the artist. You're the one that needs to decide what was the intent of the image. Did you execute it? Does your vision come through graphically? And then are your subjects properly represented in the way you want? Oftentimes, especially with wildlife, it's those small little things. It's a head tilt. It's the angle towards the face. It's the eye. It's what direction are they looking. Wildlife photography can be extremely difficult, and that's why I shoot generally on a high-speed burst and then pick the exact right image from a sequence. So it can be tedious, but I tell you, when you get the right shot, it's fantastic. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more videos and have a great day. All right, bye-bye.